Green Lantern number 23, written by Robert Venditti, art by Billy Tan. So last issue, Larfleeze attacked, we got some new recruits, some rando became a Star Sapphire and escaped, and a couple of Green Lanterns died. So we pick up this issue with Hal Jordan looking over the new recruits, who are all like short and young and very inexperienced looking. And he's just like, oh my god, Kilowog, send these back. Get some new ones. For God's sakes, there's no way we're using these kids. And Kilowog's like, you do understand that the entire sector that they are supposed to come from was scanned, and these are the most worthy people. So if we send them out, we're only going to get worse. You get that, right? And Hal goes up to the one that made a construct that punched him in the back of the head, and he's like, hey, good job with the construct. Not saying that was a bad thing. However, when you're throwing a punch, the thumb goes on the outside. If you do it on the inside, you get a broken thumb, okay? Got it? And he's like, yeah, sure, sorry. So then he goes up to the second one, who's this, like, octopus-headed girl. Asks for her name. Her name is 2681795. She's like, that's not a name. Why are you giving me a barcode here? And he's like, oh, I'm a mathematical-based species. All of my stuff is numbers. He's like, all right, well, I'm not going to remember, like, to call Jenny or whatever, so your name from now on is 26. And he looks around and he's just like, all right, if we send you guys out, you guys are dead because you're literal kids. And then one of them speaks up like, excuse me, I'm like 439 of my years old. I'm not a kid. And he's like, all right, whatever. So then Hal gets a call from Soranatu downstairs in the medical bay where a bunch of the Green Lanterns are healing up. And turns out one of the recruits that arrived died. He died in the stuff, and his ring went off and found another host, but nobody knew who he was. And now that his ring's gone, nobody knows who he is. So Hal's like, does anybody know this guy's name? Like, this is unacceptable that a Green Lantern served and died and not a single person knew his name. And he basically calls on the ring and says, what race is this thing? He's apparently Vilgashian, which means there are 200 billion Vilbashians. So there's no way he's really going to be able to narrow it down. And he just is so upset about this. He walks out upset. We see Kilowog is sitting on a tiny little chair doing his computer stuff, and we get a rundown on the woman who escaped and became a Star Sapphire. They don't know she became a Star Sapphire, but they give a breakdown that she was basically wanted for a bunch of crimes, but they didn't have her tied down to anything specifically. So she was just being kept on suspicion while they really built up the charges. And now that she has killed a Green Lantern, that's the charge. So they do some tracking and manage to say, like, okay, she flew back to a nest. She's part of, like, this group of scavengers and stuff like that in the Outer Rim. So it's worth doing that. And Hal's like, all right, I'm out. I'm going to go take care of her. And Kilowog basically says, like, dude, you just brought in a bunch of recruits who don't even know who you are. Like, you have to establish yourself as the head of the Corps. You need to be here as a figurehead, not out there being a renegade cop sort of thing. And he's just like, no, I'm going to go out there because if I send out these Corps members, they will get hurt. I'm the only one who's going to be the one standing in a line of fire. They don't like that. They can suck it. So Kilowog, he goes back, he sits on his tiny chair again, and it snaps, and he throws out the window. I just like it. It's a comedic beat. So we see way out in the outer territory of Sector 563, there's a couple of scavengers. They find the ship that, I'm sorry, she did have a name. Let me pull that up real quick. Prixium Nol Ange, but they refer to her as the Prixium. So I think that's like princess sort of thing. So they find her ship. They are about to go try to scavenge from it, but then they see her and they all kneel before her and say, like, you escaped, how? And she's like, I just got lucky. It kind of just worked out, all things considered. So she asks about her clan, which she used to lead, and she's like, yeah, no, everyone moved inwards because the trade out here has gone to crap. Like, there is nothing left for us to scavenge out here. This ship is it. This is the most we've seen in, like, weeks. After this, we're done. And she says, okay, I get it. I'm going to fix this. So we see Hal's arrived, and he's like, hey, is she able to breathe air? And, like, does she require air? And the Ring says, no, this planet is absolutely lethal. If you're exposed to it for like 30 seconds, you're dead. If she needed air, she'd be dead as well. And it's like, okay, well, what the heck? How'd she manage to get here and walk out of her ship? So he scans the planet. He finds the little hiding place that they've got. Apparently it's locked, and the ring starts breaking the encryption. And it's just like, oh, okay, that's going to take way too long. He smashes through the wall, and immediately they start firing on him. And he's just like, okay, I'm not dealing with this. He redirects their bullets and takes him out. So Prixium was the only one left. And then all of a sudden, she gets her Star Sapphire powers out. And he's just like, when have you been a Star Sapphire? And be like, literally since last issue. Anyway, I'm in charge of love now, and I can feel your love. And he's like, love? I don't feel love anymore. I'm not going through anything. And she's like, yeah, you are. I remind you of someone. I can feel it in your heart. How about we peer into your mind and see what she's doing right now? And so he pulls the thread over to Carol, who's over in New Guardians, almost about to start an event. And we see her with Kyle going up against Relic. And she gets blasted and whatnot, and Hal's like, no, not Carol. And Prixium's like, oh, well, geez, that doesn't look good. Also, she's with another guy. That kind of sucks as well. And all of a sudden, both of their rings cut out, as they have been cutting out repeatedly. And as we said before, this planet is 100% toxic. We see that the people Green Lantern knocked out have come to. They get Prixium the mask. But Hal is left in the unforgivingness of death. So he collapses down on the ground. All of a sudden, his ring flickers back on. He coughs himself back. His ring's like, yeah, no, I don't know what just happened there, but you were 26 seconds. So 4 more, you would have been dead. But Hal's like, okay, my ring just flickered. Prixium's ring flickered. I'm willing to bet that Carol's flickered as well. And she was fighting against a giant monster thing. I'm going to go deal with that. So he zooms off to go find Carol. The ring's unable to find them, has no idea where they are. And Prixium's like, I thought we were in the middle of a plot. And Hal's just like, nope, guess that's in, wait till later. So issue 24 is a part of Green Lantern Lights Out, which is where Relic is going to do his thing. I don't know what part. I don't know where we're going to come back in on that. But regardless, I think it did an okay job of getting it in there. It seemed, we set up the Star Sapphire thing. We established why he would care about that. It did a good job leading into the event. Don't have a problem with that. In regards to the rest of the issue, it's fine. It definitely feels like a lesser plot. It doesn't feel as important, but that's only in the terms of the Prixium thing. I think it actually is doing a really good job of having Hal kind of trying to come to terms with what it takes to be this leader that he needs to be, because obviously he is the renegade cop. He's the one who goes off half-cocked and ready for action. He doesn't think about what needs to be done in the larger picture. So I like that for character development. I think it's doing a good job there. Beyond that, not a whole lot else. I like the comedy beats with Kilowog. And I really did like that moment with the dead lantern, who he doesn't know the name of. It just adds a bit of character to it. If anything, this arc is going to be very good for character building, and I am super okay with that. So overall, I'm going to give this one I'll give it a 7.5. I really did like it. I think it was a nice, solid issue, and even though we have to take a little beat here for both Villains Month and whatever we're going to be doing in Lights Out, I think that once we come back, this is going to be a nice plot to continue with.